stranger knew my darkest secret and left this at my door. Hey guys, this is my first post here, so bear with me. I'm not the type to spill my guts online, but the last few days have been, I don't even know where to start. My name's Jess, I'm 32, and I live alone in a little house in the suburbs. I work remotely, some boring data entry gig for a company no one's heard of. My life's pretty quiet. Netflix, silence. I don't like noise, don't like people showing up unannounced. Even pizza delivery knows to leave it at the door. But last night, that all changed. It was a Tuesday evening, raining outside, nothing special. Around 9, it's dark already. I'm halfway through some dumb lawyer show, picking at cold pizza, when there's a knock. Not a doorbell. A knock, 3 loud, solid raps. I froze. No one knocks on my door. Friends? I don't have any who just drop by. Neighbors barely know my name. Wrong address, maybe? I got up, tiptoed to the door. Like in those movies where you don't want to be heard. Peeked through the peephole. There's a guy standing on my porch. 40-ish, maybe older. Average build. Jeans, a jacket, hair messy from the rain. Hands empty, just staring right at the peephole like he knows I'm there. My skin crawled. Who's there? I asked, trying to sound tougher than I felt. He paused, then said, Jess, I need to talk. Low voice, calm, but it made my stomach drop. How does he know my name? I don't even put it on my mailbox. Just the house number. I don't know you, I said, my voice shaking now. Leave, or I'm calling the cops. He didn't move, just stood there. Then he said, I know what happened to your brother. Guys, I nearly collapsed. My brother, Michael, I haven't talked about him to anyone. Not in 12 years. I don't even let myself think about him. Back when I was 20, I ran away from home. Freshman in college, family falling apart. Dad drank, mom shut down, fights every night. Michael was 10, little guy always trailing me with his toy cars. That last night I snapped. Dad yelled something like, you're ruining us. And I was done. Grabbed a backpack, walked out. A week later I heard Michael went missing. Left to play outside and never came back. I blamed myself. If I'd stayed, maybe he'd be okay. But I didn't look for him, didn't call home. I just ran from it all. Locked that door in my head, and never opened it. And now this stranger on my porch says that. What do you want? I asked, almost yelling. He looked at me through the peephole, dark eyes, tired. The truth, he said. Tell me the truth, and I'll go. I slammed the door so hard the glass rattled. Locked it, leaned against the wall. My heart was pounding like it had burst. A minute later, silence. I checked the window, he was gone. Just the rain. But under the doormat there was a note. A soggy scrap of paper. I picked it up with shaking hands. It said, You're not to blame. I sat with that note half the night. Who is he? How does he know? What does he want me to confess? I didn't sleep, didn't eat, just stared at the ceiling. This isn't a prank. It's not random. And I'm terrified it's only the beginning. So, after that note, you're not to blame. I was a mess. I mean, who wouldn't be? Some random guy shows up, drops a bomb about my missing brother, and vanishes into the night. I couldn't just let it go. I kept turning that soggy paper over in my hands, rereading it like it'd explain itself. My first thought was to call the cops, report a stalker or something, but what would I say? Hey, a guy knocked on my door and left a cryptic note? They'd laugh me off. Besides, he didn't threaten me. He just knew things. Too much. I tried to shake it off, get back to normal. Made coffee, opened my laptop, stared at spreadsheets for work. But my head wasn't in it. All I could think about was Michael. That last day I saw him, he was in the kitchen, playing with his stupid Hot Wheels, begging me to race them with him. I told him to leave me alone. Then I left. And now this guy's words. I know what happened to your brother. What does that even mean? Did he find him? Did he do something to him? I had to know more. So I asked him. Not directly, he was gone. But I went back to the door, half hoping he'd be standing there again. Nothing. Just wet pavement and a flickering streetlight. Then I remembered his other line. Tell me the truth and I'll go. Truth about what? That I ran away? That I abandoned my family? I yelled into the empty yard. What do you want me to say? No answer, obviously. I felt like an idiot. That's when I decided to dig. I hadn't looked up Michael's case in years. Couldn't stomach it. But now I had to. I Googled his name, Michael Harper missing, added our old town. A few old articles popped up, same stuff I'd seen before. 10-year-old boy vanishes from backyard. Police suspect runaway or abduction. Family uncooperative. That last bit stung. Dad refused to talk to the cops. Said they were wasting his time. Mom just cried. I wasn't there to help. Then I stumbled on something new. A forum post from 2 months ago on a true crime board. Some user, mfinder, wrote, "Anyone know what happened to Michael Harper? Missing 2013? Case went cold. But I've got a lead." My hands shook as I scrolled. No replies, just that one post. Mfinder. Michael Finder? Was this him, the guy from my porch? I made an account. Typed a quick message. "Hey, I saw your post about Michael Harper. What's your lead?" Hit send. 5 minutes later, a reply. Not from Mfinder, though, from a blank profile, no name, just numbers. "Don't dig into this, Jess." I dropped my phone. How did they know it was me? I hadn't used my real name. My account was Anon123 or something stupid like that. I checked my settings, nothing public, no links to me. Was my laptop hacked? Was this guy watching me? I ran to the window, yanked the curtains shut. My street looked normal. Wet. Empty. Quiet. Then I saw it. A car. Dark sedan parked 2 houses down. Lights off, but someone inside. I squinted, couldn't tell if it was him. I grabbed my phone, zoomed in, snapped a blurry pic. The car didn't move. I waited, heart pounding, until it finally pulled away an hour later. Next morning, I checked the forum again. My message was gone. Deleted, like it never existed. But that car came back the next night. Same spot, same vibe. I started wondering if I was paranoid, or if this guy wasn't working alone. Why me? Why now? And then it hit me, Mom. She used to call me every year on Michael's birthday, begging me to come home. I'd hang up. Last call was 2 years ago. What if she hired someone? What if this was her way of dragging me back into that mess? Couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house made me jump. I kept seeing Michael's face, those big eyes, that dumb grin. And that note, "You're not to blame." If that's true, why does it feel like a lie? Okay, guys, this is where it all went off the rails. By now, I was a wreck, barely sleeping, jumping at shadows, obsessed with that damn car parking down the street every night. I'd stopped answering work emails, stopped eating anything that wasn't coffee or crackers. That note, "You're not to blame," was burning a hole in my pocket. I kept rereading it, trying to crack it like a code. Who was this guy? Why wouldn't he leave me alone? I had to face him. So I did something stupid. I wrote a note back, grabbed a sticky pad, scribbled, "Name a time and place," slapped it on my front door before I could chicken out. Then I waited. All day, nothing. I kept peeking out the window. Car wasn't there. Street was dead. By night, I was ready to give up, call myself crazy, and move on. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I picked up, hands shaking. "Jess," that same low voice said. "Park on Elm Street, midnight. Come alone." I tried to ask who he was, but he hung up. Elm Street's this rundown spot a mile away. Old playground, busted swings. No one goes there after dark. I almost didn't go, but I couldn't keep living like this with questions eating me alive. So I grabbed my keys, a can of pepper spray, and drove. It was pitch black when I got there, just my headlights cutting through the fog. I parked, stepped out, scanned the lot. Empty. Then I saw him, leaning against a tree, same jacket, same tired eyes. He didn't move, just watched me walk up. I stopped 10 feet away, pepper spray tight in my fist. "Who are you?" I demanded. "What do you want from me?" He didn't flinch. "I'm not here to hurt you, Jess. I was a detective." Was? That threw me. He kept going. "I worked your brother's case back in 2013. Michael Harper, missing from your backyard." My knees went weak. I hadn't heard his name said out loud in years. "You didn't find him," I snapped. "No one did." He shook his head. "That's what you think." Then he pulled something from his pocket. A photo. Held it out. I stepped closer, grabbed it. It was Michael. Older, maybe 20, standing next to a man. My dad. The timestamp on the back, 2019. 6 years after he disappeared. Couldn't breathe. This is fake, I said, voice cracking. He's gone. They looked everywhere. It's not fake, he said. Your father took him. I stared at him, waiting for the punchline. He didn't blink. That night you left, your parents fought. That. Your dad blamed you, said you broke the family. He wanted to punish you. So he took Michael, drove him across state lines, told everyone he vanished. Made up the whole story. Cops, search parties, all of it. I laughed, but it came out like a sob. No, that's insane. Mom would have known. He looked down. She didn't. Not at first. Your dad told her Michael ran off because of you. She believed it until she got sick. Sick? My head spun. She's dead, Jess, he said quietly. 2 months ago. Cancer. I was with her at the end. She hired me to find you. I dropped the photo. You're lying, I yelled. He stepped closer, voice steady. I found Michael 2 years ago. He's alive in Oregon. Got a job, a girlfriend. I told him about you. He said he doesn't want to see you. My chest felt like it was caving in. Then why are you here? I screamed. Why drag me into this? He looked at me, almost sad. Because your mom made me promise. She wanted you to know the truth, to have a chance to fix it. I've done my part. He turned to walk away. I stood there, rain soaking through my jacket, screaming at his back. Fix what? You just broke everything. I don't know how long I stood there in that park after he walked away. Rain was pouring, soaking me to the bone. But I couldn't move. That photo of Michael, older, alive, standing next to Dad, was still on the ground, getting ruined in the mud. I didn't pick it up. Didn't want to touch it. My whole life, I'd carried this guilt like a backpack full of bricks, thinking I'd lost my brother because I walked out. And now, turns out it was all a lie. Not my lie, Dad's. I drove home in a daze. Kept replaying the detective's words. Your father took him. He wanted to punish you. Punish me? For what? Being a pissed-off 20-year-old. I remembered that last fight. Dad yelling, "You're tearing us apart." Mom crying in the corner. I thought he meant the family was crumbling because of me. Turns out he crumbled it himself. Took Michael, faked the whole thing, let me think he was dead. And Mom, she bought it. For years. When I got back, I collapsed on the couch, still in my wet clothes. The house felt too quiet, too empty. I kept seeing Michael's face. Not the kid I left behind, but this 20-something guy from the photo. Alive. In Oregon. With a job, a girlfriend, a life. And he didn't want me in it. That hurt worse than anything. I'd spent 12 years punishing myself for losing him, and he'd spent those years moving on. The detective left me his card. Slipped it under my door while I was gone. Had an address scribbled on the back. Michael's address. I stared at it for hours. Part of me wanted to jump in the car, drive to Oregon, bang on his door, and scream, "Why didn't you look for me?" But what would that fix? He didn't know me anything. I'm the one who left. I thought about Mom, too. Dead 2 months, and I didn't even know. She'd called me every year on Michael's birthday, March 15th. Leaving voicemails I never answered. "Jess, please come home," she'd say. "We need you." I'd delete them, thinking she just wanted to guilt-trip me. Now I get it. She was alone, sick, stuck with Dad's lie until she figured it out. And her last wish was for me to know the truth. Too late for her, too late for us. By morning, I'd made up my mind not to run to Michael, not yet. I grabbed a notebook instead. Started writing him a letter. "Hey, Mikey," I wrote. "It's Jess. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I thought you were gone, and I blamed myself every day. I get it if you hate me. I left you with him, with them. But I'm here now, if you ever change your mind." It was 3 pages, messy, tear-stained, full of stuff I'd never said out loud. I didn't send it, just left it on my table, next to that damn detective's card. The car stopped showing up after that night. Guess he'd kept his promise, told me the truth, then left. I saw him one last time, driving past my street a few days later. He didn't stop, didn't wave, just glanced my way and kept going. "Now it's your choice," he'd said in the park. My choice. I sat there, staring at that letter, and something clicked. I couldn't undo the past. Couldn't bring Mom back. Couldn't erase Dad's betrayal. Couldn't force Michael to forgive me. But I could stop running from it. I'd spent 12 years hiding, pretending I didn't care, when all I did was care too much. Maybe that's what the note meant. You're not to blame. Not for Michael disappearing, at least. But I was to blame for letting that guilt define me. So I made a promise to myself. To keep that letter. If Michael ever reached out, I'd send it. If not, I'd let him live his life. And I'd start living mine, not just surviving, but actually living. It's not a fix, guys. It's not a happy ending. But it's something. So that's my story, guys. It's been a week since that night in the park. Since the detective dropped the truth on me like a ton of bricks and walked away. I'm still figuring out what to do with it. The letter to Michael's still sitting on my kitchen table, next to that card with his address. Every morning, I look at it, think about sticking it in an envelope, driving to the post office. Every morning not yet, maybe not ever. I don't know if he'd even read it, or if he'd just toss it in the trash and keep living his life like I never existed. Can't say I'd blame him. The house feels different now. Quieter, but not in a bad way. I've started opening the curtains again, letting some light in. Even made a real meal last night. Pasta, nothing fancy, but it's a start. Work's still a grind, but I'm catching up on emails. Faking it till I feel normal again. I keep thinking about Mom. How she must have felt. Alone with Dad's lie, calling me year after year. I pulled up one of her old voicemails I'd saved by accident. Jess, it's Mom. I miss you. Please just call. I listened to it 3 times, crying like a kid. Wish I'd picked up back then. Wish I'd known. Dad's the part one can't wrap my head around. Taking Michael, faking it all, letting me think he was gone. What kind of person does that? I haven't talked to him since I left. Last I heard, he was still in our old town, drinking himself into a hole. Part of me wants to call, scream at him, ask why. But what's the point? He'd probably just hang up, or worse, lie again. I'm done chasing answers from people who don't want to give them. That note from the detective, you're not to blame. I've got it pinned to my fridge now. Not because I fully believe it, but because I want to. I spent 12 years blaming myself for Michael, for Mom, for everything. Turns out most of it wasn't mine to carry. Dad made his choice. Michael made his. I got to make mine. Maybe that's what this whole mess was about. Not fixing the past, but letting it go. Or at least trying to. I keep wondering about that detective, too. Who was he, really? Just some guy Mom hired, or something more? He said he was done with my case, but I saw his car one last time yesterday. Slowing down outside my house, then speeding off. Maybe he's checking on me. Maybe he feels guilty for flipping my world upside down. I almost waved, but he was gone before I could. Anyway, here's where I'm at, guys. I don't know if I'll ever see Michael again, or if I'll stay this ghost in his life, like he's been in mine. I don't know if I'll ever forgive Dad, or myself, but I'm done hiding. That's the best I've got right now, a promise to stop running. It's not a big win, not some Hollywood ending where we all hug it out. It's just me trying to figure out what's next. So, I've got a question for you all. Ever had something like this hit you out of nowhere? A secret, a truth you didn't ask for? What did you do? Did you chase it down or let it lie? If you were me, would you send that letter to Michael or leave him be? I'm serious, write it in the comments. I could use some perspective because I'm still lost here. This whole thing's left me raw, and I don't know if I'm doing it right. Thanks for reading, I guess. Didn't expect to dump all this, but it feels good to get it out.